the idea was born at the kitchen table when my mom came home from an overnight shift talking about lifting the station. And my father realizing that they actually got in a little bit of an argument of like whether something existed or not. Cause he's like, you guys need to go buy something to help.
Yeah.
Like, this is
Yeah.
ridiculous. She's like, nothing existed. So of course you go to Google to try to prove your point. And on Google, he couldn't find anything. This is a testament to who my father is. The very next step, he went to eBay and he bought an old 1962 Kenmore sewing machine and some remnant like quarter of nylon fabric and ordered it right then and there to his house. He was just going to make something to help. Didn't matter that he had never sewn before a day in his life. He would figure that part out.
Hello and welcome back to the Ignition Path Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Goodnight. I'm super happy that you tuned in today to listen to another path of entrepreneurship. This one is going to be really fun because this is where my two worlds collide a little bit, my first responder world and my business passion world. And we're going to talk a little bit about how he got into the business world through his entrepreneur drives and whatnot. We're also going to talk about what he's bringing and what his company is bringing to the EMS world. And it is something that saves a lot of our back. So I'm excited to have him. So today I've got Rick Binder on the call. How are you, Rick?
Hey, I'm good, Kyle. I'm stoked to be here and to have this conversation with you.
Absolutely. So, Rick, please introduce yourself and a little bit about what you did prior to the business section of what you're doing nowadays. Like, talk to us. I believe, if I remember right in our pre-call, you were going through the path of first responder. You got the mustache for a fireman, so but. Is that a strategy? Is that a strategy for mirroring?
For sure. I used to only shave the mustache for FDIC, the nation's largest firefighter conference. And then it kept staying longer and longer and longer. And now I think it's just here to stay.
Yeah, exactly. Now I cannot do the same thing. I had a mustache one time in my life. It was during a Movember thing. And my son was in marching band in high school. It was his senior year. And I decided to grow it. And I'm telling you right now, it was the worst look on me ever. I cannot pull it off. I can't pull off a goatee. I have zero growth here. I just don't. My dad did. My grandpa gave me the genes for my hair. My father's, who has a full, beautiful beard, he did not give me the genes for a beard. And I'm okay because this is 5 days. I mean, like, this is me not shaving for 5 days. So I'm pretty lucky that I don't have to shave every day. And a lot of people that do have to shave every day, they're like, oh my gosh, I'd love to not have to shave every day. So
absolutely. I love having a mustache, but if I could trade it,
it's a give and take. I can't pull off the look, but I don't have to shave every day. So sorry. Yeah, I digress. I always like to have fun little tidbits about life in general thrown into these podcasts. Once again, Rick Binder with Phase. What is it? You have a label at the end of the word Phase, like Phase International, Phase Corporation?
Phase INTL, short for international.
Sure.
Phase stands for Patient Handling and Safety Experts.
Oh,
so that's what we
perfect.
focus on.
Awesome.
I'm the CEO of the company. Started it with my father. I guess we're going back 13 years ago now. And it was inspired by my mom. So my mom, growing up, she was in EMS. And that's what gave me my love and passion for the EMS industry. So my mom loves the industry. She's still volunteering to this day. I think she'll stay volunteering or involved with EMS till the day she dies. And her passion for the job really is where I got it from. And so when I graduated high school, I was like, I want to be a firefighter paramedic. So I went to college and I got 2 years into it. I had my AMT, was liking it, but I still had an inclination towards business. So there was about once or twice in that first 2 years that I changed my program, my 4-year program, over to business. And then I'd be like, no, I don't know. No, I want to be a firefighter. And so then I would change it back.
The beauties of being young and the changes that we can make.
Totally. It was as easy as going to my advisor and changing my class schedule. It was great.
Yeah. I didn't even know what I had zero clue what I was going to do for the first 3 years of college. Zero.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
I took an aptitude test because I was like, I better make a decision. And it one of the things that it mentioned was respiratory therapy. And I'm like, what's that? And so I looked into that. I'm like, that sounds kind of cool. It's healthcare. And that's literally how I decided to become a respiratory therapist. And then that grew into being a paramedic and all that. So yeah, I totally get the fact that when we're in our, our youth, and if we don't, and you have ideas and passions, because I had zero, I mean, I was a contractor with my dad. That was about the only passion I had. But it was still like I wanted something a little bit more secure, and I knew healthcare was that. So, but yeah, it's funny.
That's the
It's
time to do it. Like I
exactly,
encourage everyone at that stage. Yeah. Like
exactly.
who cares
Yep.
if you changed something last week?
Yeah.
Change it again next week. Like that's
Yeah.
the time to explore and figure it out.
Exactly. My son came to me when he wanted to change his direction, and he was really not looking forward to that conversation. And his mom was a little disappointed about things of the direction that he wanted to change to. But we talked about it, and I kind of shared with him like, hey, by the way, I changed direction too. You were dating me back then, So
Yeah.
so I was like, you can't, you can't hold it against him. You got to let him live his life a little bit and have some learns. And he's actually flying back from Atlanta today doing something he loves. So yeah.
Yep. That's cool.
But
Yeah. And that was in figuring out, what it is that I loved. I actually ended up deciding to take a year off and volunteer for a year because I was like, oh, I'm getting later into my program. I feel like I really got to decide here.
right. So did you become an EMT or a 36-hour firefighter like in the process of that schooling? So
just by certificate and training only.
Sure.
Because I was full time in school, and the next step in the program was to get my paramedic license. So that I was trying to get through school as fast as possible. Then took a year to volunteer, and that was when my father made the BinderLift. Didn't have a name then, but made something help my mom because she was going on lift assist calls. And over her career in EMS, she was dealing with routine back pain. And of course, you talk to somebody like yourself in EMS, you're like, and who doesn't, right? So it
Yep.
was just kind of part of the job.
I've had plenty of FMLA because of my back. So yeah.
Yep. Yep. And I was young enough at the time. I didn't realize how real that was. I didn't know what pain was. I was, I was 19,
you tweak
20
your
years
back
old.
when you're young, you're bouncing back in a day and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So while I was volunteering, my father, he was a construction worker by trade his entire life. Entrepreneurial, doing his own thing, but working the trades was his specialty. And but didn't matter when he saw he's like, wait, there's a missing piece here. When hearing my mom talk about lifting these patients, reaching underneath their armpits, and she's like, getting underneath the patient's butt, trying to pick him up while her partner is trying to do that extremity lift. And he's like,
And they're floppy.
Seriously?
I mean, yeah, you get,
Yep.
there's the whole, their arms really, and some people have injured shoulders. Like, don't lift on my shoulder. You can't always rely on that being your anchor point, right underneath someone's with your hands. You can't rely on their belt being like a pair of jeans. Like, I mean, people with jeans on, I can grab their belt and like, okay, I've almost got like a gait belt. So, and I've got a pretty decent background in the hospital setting too, where I know Hoyer lifts, and when, seeing the BinderLift, it's very much like a Hoyer, it's a Hoyer without the arm and the electronics, and, it goes on kind of the same way to move people. And we'll show some pictures later on, but yeah. So talk to me more about how old were you when your dad created the BinderLift? Were you there during the initial build of it? Like, I'm sure he probably built it with stitches. I mean, like, tell me more about how it actually came about. Like, where was the prototype? Like, how did that come about?
Totally. Yeah. So it was really, the idea was born at the kitchen table when my mom came home from an overnight shift talking about lifting this patient. And my father realizing that they actually got in a little bit of an argument of like whether something existed or not. Cause he's like, you guys need to go buy something to help.
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous. And she's like, nothing existed. So of course you go to Google to try to prove your point. And on Google, he couldn't find anything. And so this is a testament to who my father is. The very next step, he went to eBay and he bought an old 1962 Kenmore sewing machine and some remnant like Cordura nylon fabric, and ordered it right then and there to his house. He was just going to make something to help. Didn't matter that he hadn't ever sewn before a day in his life. He would figure that part out.
Well, construction guys, I'm telling you right now, we can figure a lot of stuff out. Because our brains work differently. We see the end product before it's actually done. Like I can go into a room and say, oh, this is how it's going to look to you, and maybe even draw it up for someone, because we just have that. Anybody in construction just has that ability to build it in their head first. So I'm sure, and of course, there's always things that come about on a work site that you have to adapt and overcome. So I think it's probably part of the mentality of him being in construction, that it's like, oh, I can learn anything. Oh, if I can build a house, I can learn how to run a sewing machine, because I did the same thing. I did some stuff back in the day that I had to learn how to sew, and I did.
I love it. The phrase that has gotten me farther in life and also in a lot of trouble is, well, it can't be that hard. So I think I got that from my dad.
There it is. I try. So eventually I want my podcast, the different podcasts that I have, and I'll do some shameless plug here. Elevate podcast with first responder mental health. That's another podcast I run. But a lot of times when I'm talking with people, there's a nugget, and that nugget is a slogan, and that slogan can go on a t-shirt where I could eventually have merch. I just found mine for this episode.
I love it. I love it.
What you just said there about that is like, that could totally be a t-shirt and be like, the Ignition Path podcast, blop.
Yeah, can't be that hard.
Can't be that hard. Podcasting can't be that hard, except for it took me 6 years to figure it out. But no.
Exactly. Yep. So that was what my father said. Can't be that hard. And sat down at the kitchen table when he got the sewing machine in the mail and that fabric. And it took my mom, she was working a 12-hour shift, and it took him about that full 12-hour shift. But when she got home, he wrapped the BinderLift, what he made, around himself, and he sat down on the floor and he said, "Pick me up." And she picked him up, and she was like, "What?" That was so much easier. That was incredible.
Leverage. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and from that was really our prototyping process.
Gotcha.
It was almost the exact design that he did right there is very similar to what we're still using today.
Wow.
Like we've of course improved it in different ways.
Yeah.
But
and I'm sure there was, patents that you had to get because someone sees that and they like, oh, I can build one of those, so I'm sure you had to go through that process. Now, what age were you when you saw him build that? Like, and then did that trigger anything in your mind that you wanted to be like, oh, this is that business passion I have, and it is also serving this EMS struggle that I have going back and forth between?
Totally. Yeah. I was 21 at the time.
Okay. So,
and when he did this, I didn't even know. I wasn't living at my parents' home. I was out, doing my thing. And I didn't even know that this was happening. I go home and my dad's truck is gone, and his trailer full of tools was gone. And I'm learning, oh yeah, he sold his truck and his trailer full of tools, and he used that money to fund the first professional.
He was all in.
Oh, he went all in on this idea.
Wow.
And so I was like,
that's a leap.
All right. Oh,
that's a leap, man.
It was looking back, I knew it was a big leap at the time, but I didn't even realize how big of a leap it was until later.
Yeah. So having a family and him having a son that was 21 years old, I couldn't imagine. My son's only 24. My daughter just turned 21. If I decided right now to hang up shop and stuff, like, oh my gosh, that would be so. Now that's the kind of stuff that I'd love to actually have him on now, because that's the kind of stuff that the Ignition Path podcast is all about. It's that entrepreneurial path that people go through and the sacrifices that they make, and tell me more about how much nerves that you had, like that would be the kind of questions because that's what people that listen to this podcast want to know. Like when they're in a struggle and they're like, I gave up everything to start this business, and why isn't it kicking off? And they hear these kind of stories and they're like, wait, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it, so, but that's incredible. So tell me more about your involvement back then and when you made the decision to be, full on with it.
Yeah. So, as soon as I heard about it, I was like, oh, well, I can help. I'm already taking a year to volunteer. Like I'll go around. I have some extra time. And I went around to the surrounding EMS services and didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, I got this product. I'll go start showing it to people. And so the first couple months I was doing that as I had spare time to. And then I had the summer before my paramedic program was starting that fall. And so I was like, well, hey, I'll help you get this product off the ground. And this was the first where we started to really learn the difference between a product and a business.
Mm,
When we're starting out on entrepreneurship, I think a common mistake entrepreneurs make is not separating the product from the business. And those really are two separate things. And I think a lot of times entrepreneurs they're creative and they're really good at making the product and they focus on the product and sometimes neglect the business. Um,
absolutely. That is a
and you can't
huge
have
point.
one without the other, right?
Right, because you got, and you one someone that was on one of my shows previously, they mentioned that. They said that you have to run if you're an entrepreneur, you have to run your business like you're the CEO, like you are the Procter and Gamble CEO. Like you have to have a payroll, you have to pay yourself, you pay yourself first, and then set stuff aside for tax. Like operate it like a business, and that's how it becomes successful. And it's not just a hobby with bonuses, with benefits of income. And that's
Totally.
a hard one to wrap your head around. Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it was when we started out, our business was named the same as the product. So our business was BinderLift, and our
Okay.
product was BinderLift. So that's just one testament to show that we didn't know that there was really a difference
Branding.
between the business and the
Yeah.
product. It was all
Yeah.
just kind of the same.
Right.
Um,
And yeah,
so
having a business name could also too, because once again, entrepreneurs, creative people, people like your father, and I'm not sure how creative mind you are yet, but once you create the Bender Lift, it would naturally move into another product that could possibly benefit this area of provider safety is what it really is, and patient safety. Come on, it's both. Like these kind of products and these kind of innovative things that people kind of just like, oh, well, we've done it this way for years and we've used sheets. Well, I've had a sheet rip in half before. And next thing you know, we're
mhm.
doing everything we can to not let that patient drop. And it puts us into strain. It puts them into danger. So to have these, and it's no different than, in my opinion, the ET tube that was held in the EMS by IV tubing for years. And now
Mhm.
the best practice is to use what they call how do they say it in the HA guidelines? It is a commercially prepared endotracheal tube holder, like commercially prepared. So this is that commercially prepared lifting agent of some, or moving agent, so that has to be also ingrained into the safety and our workers' comp discussions. And yeah, so.
You can say, talking about the kind of the blending of your two worlds here, when we shift over into the EMS side of the world, kind of like construction workers, EMS providers are so good at doing more with less.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're so good at getting creative with the resources that we have to solve the problem in front of us. And that's been to the detriment to the industry at some level because we're so good at just getting by with what we have that a lot of times we haven't paused and go, oh, well, why don't we use a commercially designed piece of equipment for this? And, getting rid of the sheet, getting rid of like however we're taping the ET tube or like that kind of thing.
Exactly.
This would be a lot easier for us if we use the tool that was actually designed for the job at hand.
Exactly. So you're 21, 22. You're seeing your dad create this in front of you, and essentially, and you're going around all summer showing it to local departments. Are you allowed to say what a general area that you started this in? Are you allowed to? I don't know
But
if.
yeah, for
Okay.
sure, for sure. So I was based in Bozeman, Montana,
Okay.
when I first started. And it was actually AMR that was doing
Sure.
transport. Still is there in
Yep.
Bozeman at the time. I had no idea they was the largest transport service in the
Yep.
U.S. I
Yep.
I just knew that they were doing transport there
Dr.
in the
Troutman, I
valley.
think, is one of their medical directors. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. See, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
And but I just like knocked on their door and was like, "Hey, check this out." And guys were super cool, and we talked to them, and that was one of the first sales calls I made. But then when it came time for summer before my paramedic program, I was like, all right, now want to dive into this more full time. And so my father gave me keys to this old RV, And I just drove it around the country going from EMS conference to EMS conference. It was, I mean, what a dream for a 21-year-old,
My
right?
gosh,
I
I
mean,
want to do that now.
yeah, oh, totally.
You're the Walter White of lifting events. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean,
Did you
literally
have the
from,
sewing machine all set up in there so you could sell them right there on the spot too? No.
yeah, just, thankfully I was not having to sew and sell. I was just selling. But yeah, going to the
Oh my
South
gosh,
Carolina
that
EMS
is a
conference.
movie. That is a movie
Yeah.
right there. You're going to conferences, pitching your device, and then you're going into the camper at late at night and
Just sewing up what I sold. Yeah, totally.
that is
So,
funny.
yeah, so I went around. I was driving the country. I remember driving through Chicago and going like, well, I'll call on the Chicago Fire Department. I had no idea that was not, you don't just like try to call up a chief at the Chicago Fire Department and just drop in on them. But I didn't know better. And so I did it anyways. And the EMS chief, he actually saw me, gave me some time of day. And yeah, it was just those kind of just random encounters throughout that first summer. And 2 weeks before my paramedic program was starting, I was like, I was feeling this pressure of like, like
What do I
I have to
do?
choose, I have to
Yeah.
choose. And so I ended up choosing. I'm like, well, I can always put it off one more year. And I've been putting it off one more year for the last 13 years, and have been loving doing what I'm doing, and have grown the business to what it is in that time.
That's fantastic. So what role does your father have in it still? Is he
So
retired now?
my brother and I now run the business and
Okay,
own
perfect.
the business. So the path there, it was just my father and I for the first year or two. Then it was my father, my mom and I. Then it was my brother and I have two older brothers. My oldest brother came on board, and now he's my business partner and right hand man. So that was it was all of us. Then hired Jimmy, who's my director of sales and marketing now, and I've slowly grown our team. But yeah, so it was just a year ago we transitioned the business for my brother and I now to
Right.
own and
Well,
operate
your
it.
marketing guy, I'll have to give him kudos because seeing the Panda with the lift on, and I'm like, that catches your eye. You stop and you watch and you look, So that was kind of cool. And then the Panda gets moved by the kids. I don't know if those are your kids or somebody's kids, but
My brother's
when it
kids,
comes
yep.
to when it comes to one of the other products that you represent, the Bender, what do you call it? The Bender transfer, not slide.
The Binder
For whatever
Slide is
reason,
actually a better name. I've thought about changing the name, but I'm like, I'm a year and a half into this product launch, and I keep thinking about changing it back. So we'll see. Maybe we'll change it to Binder
because I
Slide.
keep on
But
thinking
Binder
to call it.
Transfer.
I personally call it the Bender Slider, but
Yeah.
that's because we demoed it at our department and everybody loved it. So I'm hopeful. Literally last night, I just told you before we started hit record, we had multiple runs yesterday in the evening, and one of them was late. You're woke up in the middle of the night. Your muscles aren't firing. You want something that's a little bit easier. We had to transition that patient. We had a lot of help on scene, but then when we got to the hospital, that's where I'm like, we moved that patient over, and I'm in that position to move that patient over, and I'm preparing my back and my legs so I can, and my shoulders. I've had 2 reconstructive shoulder surgeries too.
Yep.
So
Yep.
lifting is very personal to me, like I can't do what I used to do, and just do that with the patient, So when we were doing it, we moved her over, and I looked right at my partner. I'm like, when are we getting those darn sliders? I'm like, that would have been the perfect situation for this. He's like, my God. He goes, you're right. He goes, the one we looked at during core comps. I'm like, yes. And he's like, that would have totally helped, and so, it's one of those things where once you see these things and then you get into real practicality, and it is about safety. It is about safety of me. I want to make it to the end of my career. I got 10 years left. I'm 54 now. I'm going to be in my 60s. I'm not going to have the back that I don't have the back I used to. I've got discs that are shrinking. I go about every couple of years. I have to go to the chiropractor and get reset and deal with PT again. I've gone through multiple PTs with my back, my shoulders. I've gone through lots of PT with my shoulders. So this kind of thing is really, that's why It's really neat to be connected with you and get to know you better as just as a person and as what you're doing in the business to help us, these younger medics and EMTs that are coming on board that have these tools that we didn't have 15, 20 years
Mm,
ago. Like I said,
hmm
we had sheets and stuff like that, but it's still not the same. You don't have the handles. We all know. I mean, think about the product that they gave to lift up two people to lift up um, a refrigerator. Okay. It's
Yeah,
straps that go
totally.
under the refrigerator, and they're not grabbing it like this. They're putting the straps over their hands like this, and they're lifting with a major muscle system instead of their grip. And a lot of people don't realize that is really where it's at. Like, yes, you can have grip, but if you really need to, I mean, I've moved 1,000-pound patient before. We had to call the fire department. We had to do crazy stuff, and we had nothing but sheets and blankets. And it
Hmm
was it was it was very, very stressful. Every single move we made, we communicated. We had four people on either side of the doorway. We had to get this individual through his bedroom door in the back of the medic to the hospital so he could have care. We actually thought about cutting out the side of his home is how
Totally.
serious this move was. We didn't, my boss was there, the owner of the private ambulance company. He was there. He's like, listen, I don't want any of you to get hurt. I'm calling in the fire department. I don't want them to get hurt. We don't want to hurt the patient. I mean, so this is a subject that just isn't like, oh, it's a mover. I can just manhandle them. Like, we really need to focus on this in the industry and use the tools that help us. Like, we're using this video laryngoscope now, right? And us old school people are like, who needs video laryngoscope? But it's the standard. It's what every hospital uses now. The first pass, success with a video laryngoscope is through the roof compared to direct visualization. Don't get me wrong. I want people to still learn direct visualizations, but we are using better tools now for the things we used to do. And it's not just, oh, this is the way we've always done it. We've got better tools now to move patients. Let's use them. Sorry.
Absolutely. And
Sorry.
it's
That's
no, I love it.
I
I
got a little
love it.
passionate there, didn't
Yeah,
I?
to see someone else on my soapbox, I'm like, yeah, there's room for
I've been
more.
injured
Like,
because of
climb
it,
on up.
the first time I ever hurt my back, it was not even patient care. It was before I was ever even in medical. And I was working at a print shop, and I reached across the table where we were putting printed paper that got put together. And I was taking one or two pieces of paper to put it on a stack. And I just overextended myself, and bop, I was out for a week. And I was in my 20s then. And that's the first time I had a back injury. And, I don't know why it failed then, but it's one of those things where it is important to me. I've gone through, like I said, I've gone through knee, back, shoulder, all kinds of stuff. I've hurt my fingers on a table saw, so I wasn't able to grip things like, I can now, but when I first came back, it hurt to grip someone's clothes like you would and grapple them.
hmm hmm
Using a prepared device would have helped me better, even if I did just do a grab. So yeah, I've not gone down the path of the passion you and your father have and your brothers, but like it is important to me, and it's important to our industry, and they don't even know it. They don't know what they don't know until all of a sudden they're off because of an injury, because of something they didn't just take 2 more minutes and prepare that patient properly.
Absolutely. And I want to go back to, your injury, putting the paper on the desk. That is something that one of my biggest pet peeves is when I'm working with a department and they've looked at equipment and they're like, no, I don't know if it's worth it, because looking at our injuries, we don't have any injuries from patient movement. And I'm like, well, these injuries don't always show up as an
In the
acute
moment.
injury during a patient movement.
Yeah.
I've talked to so many providers of they're at home and they pick up the laundry basket. It's putting the paper on the desk. Yeah, it's all of these other things. It's very much a cumulative injury of this microtrauma, and then eventually putting the paper on the desk, you get hurt. So that's what's one of my biggest, passionate topics of education within the industry is this: the injuries are not, they're most of the time they're not acute, showing up right in the moment. They're happening afterwards. So we can't have this narrow look of looking at injury data and saying this Excel table is telling me. Eh, Screw your Excel table. We all know where the injuries are happening, and they're happening from manual patient handling. And it's not that providers can't get patients up with a sheet and some ingenuity. You've been doing that for a long time, and you've never, even that 1,000-pound patient, right? You guys transported that patient. You got the job done. The question is always at what cost?
Right.
And we
It
know
was
that.
manpower, and that took an engine and a medic company out of service, and it was a good hour to get that person. We had to make a plan. We had to do crazy things that I'd never even dreamed of that would make that person go through that door. There was just, I'm like, how are we going to do this? Somebody came up with an idea to put a blanket under them and lift them straight up and basically burrito them to get them through
Hmm.
the door, and
Yeah.
that was the bedroom door and the front door. Front door was a little easier, was bigger, but nonetheless, like, what cot holds that patient? What is the cot? Are we going to be able to lift that cot up? Or are we just going to, we ended up taking all of the prongs out of the back of the medic that hold the cots in. And we had to literally, I mean, at the time, there was no other choice because of the patient's size. We laid him on the floor and put pillows under him to prop him up. I mean, it was crazy. And but having the stretchers and the cots that we have now, I mean, if there's anything that is showing where the industry is going when it comes to patient movement and patient safety in the back of a vehicle or on scene, look at the two companies that are big providers in cots in the back of medics. They're all they're all a transformer, right? And we're not
Yeah.
doing that manual lift that anymore. We're pressing buttons and lifting them up, getting them onto a grapple and getting them lifted and put into the back of the truck. Like, right there is enough to understand that if those companies have sunk millions and probably billions of dollars into that R&D, and making them better. We're already in the second generation of the Stryker cot. I know, because we've got both in my system. I mean, if that is something they're focusing on, not only for patient safety in the back of the vehicle, but for our safety, like, this is a no-brainer to have these kind of things until we get them to the cot. They're much bigger. They
Hmm.
can't be taken into homes. So then we need different devices, stair chairs, bender lifts, mega movers, whatever it takes. The one of the CPR devices out there has its own like tarp in it, like, that keeps them on the device and lifting capabilities to get them down the stairs safely while CPR is in progress, safely for us, so we can have things to carry them. Like that used to be a backboard and straps that never worked, and the patient would flip. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like, if you haven't noticed, I've had some problems that on scene when it comes to moving patients.
Well, you're not alone in that. As that's now today with I mean, the power stretchers, or just stretchers, have come so far in the last 20 years. It's really incredible. But now the majority of injuries are happening getting the patient on the stretcher or off the
Mhm.
stretcher.
Right.
And
On both
so
sides, the patient and the provider. Right.
correct, correct. And you identified it. Part of the reason is we're not bringing the stretcher all the way into the house like we used to, right? The stretcher used to be super light. You'd
Yep.
go all the way into the house, and
Yep.
now it's still a behavior change that some departments are still working on.
Yeah, and it's not always capable. If they're upstairs, you're not bringing the stretcher upstairs, and sometimes it's
Mhm.
not even capable to bringing the stretcher to the bottom of the stairs. It's just like, maybe to the steps, and then there's discussion on, should we patients that are ambulatory, should we have a gait belt on them or something that we can assist them in a proper way? Those are all there's a lot of room to go to make this much better for not only the providers but for the patients. I truly feel you guys are just on the beginning cusp of where this could lead in the future to be safe for both individuals and both, the team that's dealing with the patient and then the patient themselves. Because ultimately, I mean, think about those videos that you see when people get dumped on a cot and just
Oh
how
my goodness.
horrible it's. Thank goodness it's never. I'm not even going to talk about it.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
Don't stop there.
but yeah, I'll stop there. But the other day we hit a tree root, and if we weren't four-pointing it, if we didn't have that plan, it would have
Hmm.
dumped that patient. But we had a plan, and we had communication. That's another thing. Communication is key with these type of products too, and these type of safety devices that we use. We've got to communicate as a team, because if one person's doing the pull and the other one's doing the push, and it's not supposed to be at the right time, then we're in trouble too. So
Well,
yeah.
yeah, we're EMS is patient movers at the core. Of course, we're doing a whole lot of other things along the way, and there's community paramedicine, and the industry is evolving, but still at the core of our industry, we're moving people from point A to point B, and it's also the most dangerous thing that we do. But since we do it so often, we let our guard down, and we forget about actually how dangerous it is and how likely we are to get hurt moving patients and getting them into the back of our ambulance. So good for you guys for not letting your guard down when that tree root
Yeah.
snuck up on you.
And, and I think sometimes time is of the essence. And, there's times that we need to have almost, I don't know if you know what, here in Ohio, they've, and I don't know if it's a national thing or not, but they have what they call a EMS timeout at the ER. So basically that gives the permission anybody in the ER, whether that's the EMS provider, a nurse, a doctor, anybody that knows this system that is part of the clinical team can say EMS timeout, and everybody's supposed to shut up and listen to the medics give report. So,
cool.
Like, I'm wondering if there's something that you could do if one person's on scene realizing that this is going to be a difficult person. We're not in an emergent, let's get them on the ground and start CPR. And, if we've got that 3 or 4 minutes on scene where we can make it safe for the patient, number one, and make it safe for us, I wonder if there's something we could come up with and that says, hey, lift timeout or EMS timeout on scene. Like, I literally just thought of that off the top of my head just now. Like I wonder if that's something we could put into our minds moving forward in this type of in this thing, in this area, because I'm going to be 100% honest with you, and I'm being vulnerable right now. We lifted somebody the other day where I'm like, man, we should have went and got the BinderLift. Plain and simple. Like, damn it, why didn't we do that? And I was not happy with myself. I knew about this. We have it on our truck. I'm getting ready to have a freaking podcast with you. I'd have been able to like, hey, dude, we used your lift. We didn't. And we were all of a sudden, next thing you know, a firefighter on scene that was helping us did this like wrestling move onto the bed to help support the patient. And man, and they weren't that sick that we couldn't have taken another 3 minutes, and it's like, why didn't we do that? And it's something where because we've always done it the other way, and we've got to get it through our heads that our safety, our patient safety, our crew member safety. I don't like it when my crew is out sick or hurt. Who does? Nobody likes to work with people they don't work with all the time,
Totally.
And you're with my department, you're at different departments. You're a mutual aid, and it's something where you could talk to a department and be like, hey guys, we're going to do a I don't know. I'm trying to come up with a slick name that you can just start using it. I don't want to say EMS timeout because that's I don't want to confuse that with the hospital setting. But whatever saying that you can say, hey, we're gonna do a lift timeout here, guys. Let's go get the BinderLift. Let's go get the stair chair. Let's go like sometimes the stair chair is already in thought process, but there's even getting someone to the stair chair. That's still the where they're at in their bed to the stair chair to get them down the steps. That is a whole nother, there's another layer that we're missing. And that's what that layer was missed the other day, and, if we could have something that the departments that have these devices, that help with these moving of patients and helping our, keep our safety. If we had hey, that's just what we do. We're stable, and our SOG is we use prepared devices to move this patient in the situation. If they're not stable, that's another question, then it's all hands on deck and let's get going. But, but still, it's one of those things where should this be on, inside of everybody's first in bag? Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there.
No, I
started getting creative.
One of those nuggets I think from this conversation is that lift timeout. I kind of like that term, lift timeout, because that's so common. You're in the room with the patient right there in front of you. Are you going to go back out to the ambulance or engine or wherever the lift is kept, or stair chair for that matter? Whatever tool that you should be using.
Yeah. ultimately it's still like, yes, of course you want people to use the BinderLift, absolutely, but there are other devices out there. You have competitors, but and they all have the same. You just have to prove to people that yours is better, of course, on anything. Like, how many video laryngoscopes are out there in the world? I keep on coming back to that, but we evaluated 5 last month. 5 different
Yeah,
ones, it's like,
totally.
okay, like, how many do we really need? So, but it's one of those things where, yeah, an LTO, hey guys, LTO, lift timeout.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. The
You may have it.
LTO. Yep.
You may
Thank you.
have
I
it.
was gonna. It might go on a T-shirt. We'll see. LTO. Taking that LTO
Yeah.
and getting prepared for that lift. I think it's super important.
Yeah. Well, we started getting clinical there, like for my
Yeah.
clinical podcast, but this is the business podcast, but this is
Yeah.
what's
So
great. Like, we just gave you we just came up with something that could help in your marketing for your business. And this is what the Ignition Path is all about. It's people getting together with different entrepreneurs who have different life experiences. I didn't even realize how much life experience I had with your industry already, compared to my injuries, compared to my hospital days of lifting patients. We had the smooth board at the hospital to get them over to the CT scan. That was amazing. That's the Bender transfer, 100%. It's just not stuck on one cot and slides. It's just you shove it under the person, and it's something smooth to get that patient and their clothes or their if you put it underneath the sheet, how it moves over. We've used that in the hospital setting for years on patients, so we have Hoyer lifts in the hospital and in nursing homes and stuff that help. This is kind of like a manual Hoyer lift, if I will, if you really think about it. It's a 2 to 3 person Hoyer lift is what what your BinderLift is. So, but yeah,
totally. And that's to segue back to the entrepreneurial and business side of your listeners. That I think a nugget for them in this is, again, going back to that differentiation between the company and the product.
mm-hmm.
BinderLift is the product that we've talked about here, was our first product. But then when we started to evolve and I started to consult insurance groups and came up with the Binder Transfer, it was confusing if BinderLift, the company, was selling Binder Transfer, but then also BinderLift. Right. So when you don't differentiate between your product and your company, it doesn't really allow room for growth. And so for your listeners out there who are considering about starting their business or launching their product
or rebranding their business,
anywhere in there, if just make sure that you're allowing room for growth, because we started out really focused on patient lifting, and that was the problem we were solving. And then we started realizing, no, actually, the problem we're solving is injuries from patient handling, not just injuries from patient lifting.
mm-hmm.
And so that's where Phase, the patient handling safety experts, the company name came from, and the differentiation. And there was, we did that after 10 years of our business being BinderLift. There was a lot of work, and I'm still going through that work of educating the industry about the difference between Phase and BinderLift now, and how we're the same company. We're not bought out. We're still family run. All of this, but it's a lot harder to do this 10 years into the journey than if you just do it
from the beginning,
from the start.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
And I'm not sure who came up with that name, but the patient handling and safety experts, what that does, that gives you so many different avenues to go. Like BinderLift, you're kind of pigeonholed on, I'm a lift and it's called Bender. And Phase gives you the opportunity to, what it's not just patient handling, it's and safety experts. So if it's safety, like something you showed me a while back and asked my opinion on it, that is a safety product for the patient. And it helps with the positioning of them, which goes to a better intubation, which goes to securing that tube. That's safety. So you've now created a name that you can even dive into other areas that aren't anything about lifting. That's safety experts. You're experts in the safety of patient care. Oh, and by the way, the first responder. That's a good one. I'd love to get to the end of my career. I know plenty that didn't because of injuries, so.
Yeah, and that's exactly, the coming up with the name Phase, it took about 2 years. In about
Wow.
2 years of just going like, I know I
I
need to
know there's
change,
something. I
like
know there's something. What
have
was that
there's like
aha
a
moment?
company name.
Do you
Yeah,
remember that aha moment? Share
I
that a little bit.
I think I was driving. I was driving. When I'm driving, it's when I'm doing a lot of that thinking time. A lot of times I'm not listening to music, podcasts, or I'm just thinking. And I
Mm-hmm.
just kept trying to play around with patient, and then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, phase. Like
Oh.
this is, yeah. But I couldn't decide between patient handling and safety equipment and patient
Mm.
handling and safety experts.
Experts all day
Yep.
long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for validating that, because
Experts.
sometimes I
I've got
still
a bit of
wrestle
a
with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I got it. In my career, I also did product development for. I sold products for 10 years, and then I went to the product development side of it for a little while. And so everything's always in the name. They like that. I
Mhm.
always keep on coming back to it. It's always in the name. Ignition path. What does that mean? It's the path that we took to ignite our entrepreneurial ways. So that's why
Mhm.
ignition path exists, and it's stuck. And it's one of those. It was one of those. Oh, this is it moments for the name of this podcast. This is no different than that. Experts gives you one credibility. It gives you, hey, we're the experts. We know how to
Mhm.
talk in depth about this safety stuff. Like there's nothing you can't pull over anything on us. We know everything there is about patient safety and first responder safety. Let's go ahead and keep on bringing us back into the world of this discussion. If you named it, what did you say? What was the other E that you thought about?
Equipment.
Equipment. Then that's just like, oh, you're just trying to sell me something. You don't care about me. So
Mhm.
experts is, safety experts is where it's at. That's a great name. I love it. So, and I didn't know either. I didn't know that you guys were Phase. I always just knew you as the BinderLift. I didn't realize that Phase, because I was like, oh, who's this distributor? That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
totally. Yep.
I'm like, who's this? Oh, they found a distributor. That's great, because I knew it was a home. I knew it was a home based company per se. I knew that about when we got introduced to it back, a few years ago. But I was like, oh, I wonder if I've never heard of Phase. What else do they sell? Like, what other products do they have? Are they like a Boundtree or no? Phase is the company that creates the Bender Lift, the Bender Transfer, and whatever else you guys got on the horizon. So that's great. So people can find everything about it. Let's dive a little bit into what you're going to be doing in the more recent weeks and months coming up, where people can find you and see videos. I've watched a few of your videos, and they're very well put together. It shows exactly some situations that us as first responders get in, as EMS and fire first responders get into on those videos. So tell about where do people find you and find if they want to do research on your business and your products. Let's just dive into that part, and then we'll wrap things up.
Awesome. Yeah. So just Googling Phase, PhaseIntl, or Googling Binder Lift or Binder Transfer, spelled like binder, will pop up. And as far as videos go, yeah, we're having a lot more fun with videos now. When we first started out, we felt like we needed to be credible and serious and do these really serious videos. And now we're like, nah, let's have some fun. So all of our
Well, the
videos,
panda at FDIC shows that you want to have fun.
yeah, that's exactly. So, yep, you'll see our products there. And what we do, any department who's interested, we
Ooh,
just send out products, let you guys play with it, and test it out in the field. And then we even give you a return shipping label to send it back to us.
wow.
So that's
I
the
didn't know you
emergency
guys
child
had.
restraint.
Yeah, I didn't know you guys had a child restraint. I
And
don't think we have this one. We have a different one, but
okay, yep. Furno makes one, and it's a great restraint as well. The XD
you
cuff.
you're our restraint people.
So this we don't, both the emergency child restraint and the XD cuff, we don't make this in house.
Okay.
These are just pieces of equipment that I believe in, and so
Yeah.
we end up offering them to
Yeah.
our customers.
We have
Dave
so
Dufek
we
is the founder of XD cuff, and this is a super great product.
Oh yeah, when we got these, we're like, yes, because we can strap them. If we've got a combative patient, these things rock.
Yeah, and the reason we carry them is because we're all about preventing injuries, and the second leading cause of injury, depending on the year, according to CDC, is from violent encounters.
Hmm.
So that's why we carry that. It's to help prevent those violent encounter injuries.
Right. Yeah. Well,
So yeah, we'll
the
be at
website. Yep. Here's the
EMS
website.
World Live coming
Yep.
up here in a couple weeks in Austin. I think Kyle, you're going to be there for that
Yep.
too as
I'm going to
well.
be there. Yep.
Yeah, so we'll
We're
be
talking
there.
on pediatric CPAP at Dr. Ann Tevy's event, and we'll be there to also bring information back to our department. I'm going on behalf of my department, of course, but yeah, EMS World Live, which is in Austin. It's also combined with
The
what's the other
Fast.
Fast? Yeah, Fast 26 or something. So
Yeah, Fast 26. Yeah, there we go. So we'll be there. Then I think we might have one or two more, but of course, EMS World. That's a big one for us. We'll be there. We'll be giving out free T-shirts again. Oh, nice! You got it with the salty paramedic. Yeah.
I love the back. Oh, hold on, listen. I don't know if I can get the back exposed. Let me see.
There we go. We got our.
Tell me if you can see it on screen.
No, you're the. Oh, there we go. Now we got it. The professional pickup artist. So I love that you're wearing the shirt.
I get paid to pick people up, so I'm professional pickup artist.
That's right. That's right. You're using the BinderLift, so you're doing it professional. You're not an amateur out there. You are
I've done amateur times though. Yeah, but yeah. I have to make sure.
Love it. So yeah, if any of your listeners will be at EMS World, we've got a shirt with their name on it. They'll just need to swing by the booth.
Awesome. Okay, fantastic. Well, Rick, it's been a pleasure. Both of our conversations, we've gone in so many different directions, and you're just one of those easy people to talk to, and we can talk about so many different subjects. And I truly enjoy my time when I'm talking with you and learning your business, learning what you're trying to do to keep the safety. And it kind of splashes into mental health, because injuries always for EMS providers, injuries people don't realize it, but injuries and time off, that affects the mental health of a first responder. So what you're doing for our industry is I think bigger than what people can realize, because I just don't think they wrap their head around it, especially the younger group that's young and spry, and they bounce back from injuries. I just don't think they understand the importance of this type of device, this type of thought process, thinking that we probably should have training on let's implement LTO into our system, and hey, let's have a lift timeout. Let's think about the best strategic way to do it safe enough. We have things, we've invested, your company has invested in the products and the devices that help keep everyone safe. Let's go ahead and use them. We had a sim house one time that was a 125-pound dummy in a bathroom, and all they did, the whole sim house, was about how different crews move that patient. And
that's great.
And it came out. There ended up being a paper about it. There ended up being a retrospective, not study, but like interpretation of the different things you can do and what it meant. And it was really interesting that when anybody ever does I'll have to find that for you and show that to you. Because I think it could be something that would be interesting for you to have as something to talk about, because a lot of times there's probably not a lot of data in EMS patient movement,
Well, it's funny you say that, given that you're in Ohio. The Bureau of Workers' Comp in Ohio has done a lot of cool work in this area. And there's the Dr. Steve Lavender. He's an ergonomics professor there at Ohio State University. And he's published a number of journals on patient handling for fire and EMS specifically.
Okay.
He published a journal back in 2020, so not that long ago, looking at lifting patients in the pre-hospital environment. And
nice.
It was part of a 3-part study that he did. And I ended up linking out with him, and he used the BinderLift, and he used electromyography, and he used a number of other products as well. He basically found every lifting device that was for EMS or could be used in the EMS environment. And he took everything and he started to look at, okay, what are crews actually going to use, and is there an actual efficacy here of proven improved ergonomics?
Right.
And he found the BinderLift reduced shear forces by 18% when lifting a patient from the floor compared to traditional lifting methods. So I can drop the link to you. It's a really informative study.
Yeah, send that to me in an email. As you started discussing it, I helped set up him. I was on light duty. This is a full circle moment, bro.
Whoa.
Like straight up.
I was wondering when you said that in review, I was like, is there some tie-in
so here? That was separate.
Okay.
but that sent you into the conversation about Dr. Lavender, right?
Yep.
And I'm like,
Yep.
why does that name sound familiar? I just went to my email, typed in Lavender, and he at osu.edu, right? He's lavender.1 at osu.edu. And he I was on light duty, and my boss came to me and said, "Hey, Kyle, can you set this up? There's somebody that wants to come to 2 or 3 of our stations and do a study about different lifting
Oh,
products." And
yep.
so I set up the communication between Dr. Lavender and our crews and the lieutenants. Like, I'm the one that actually got everybody communicated, "Hey, Dr. Lavender's going to be there at 10," that kind of stuff, because I was on light duty and I had to do that. Would have been my bosses or one of my bosses, duty to do that. So they were like, "Well, Kyle, you know how to communicate through email, and you've been in the world before where you put people together and manage things." So I actually managed their communication between the trucks that were doing the study and him. Isn't that funny? That is a full circle
That is,
moment. And you were
we
part of it
started
too.
out this conversation in our pre-podcast conversation talking about how small the EMS industry
Yeah.
and world is. And
Yeah.
now we're ending the conversation with the new realization on the different crossover.
It's just like
That
when
is
you're,
too cool.
yeah, and it's just one of those things, being in the industry, being in healthcare for a little over 30 years now, and 22 of it as a first responder paramedic. Like, I look back retrospectively on my career and go, man, I was a part of a lot of really cool things. I was a part of liquid ventilation at Ohio State when I was a respiratory therapist. Nobody's ever heard of
Wow.
that. Like the Abyss.
Yep.
Like we filled their lungs up with it was a special type of liquid, and we did ventilation with liquid in their lungs, not fluid like saline, like a specific liquid that was trying to be FDA approved. Like, I was a part of that study. Like, holy crap, like, I've done some pretty cool stuff in my career, and then having this concept, and then you saying that thing, and you said Dr. Lavender, I'm like, wait a second, that really sounds familiar. It's like, man, it's just a full circle moment that we're now talking about patient safety and lifting of different things, and I help. I was a little bitty, small, little tiny part of helping that him get some of that data. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think that's why time flies when I'm talking with you, Kyle, because there's not a lot of people that have that business side, understand that product development side, and that's a whole world
That's
in
a
and of
whole nother world.
itself.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you tie that over with the passion for EMS and how you have experience in both of those things. Yeah, we no wonder we have so many different pieces of crossover that we're just now putting together and
Yeah,
learning.
isn't that crazy? All right. Well, Rick, thank you so much for coming on the Ignition Path podcast. Of course, to all of our listeners, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. If there's anything that resonated with you, or something, an entrepreneur wanted to hear this, if you're a first responder, and some of the stuff we talked about the actual, products that Rick and his family represent and do to keep us safe as first responders and the patient safe. That's really number one in my book. Patient needs to be safe even before me, but it's a very close second. Like, I can't provide, if I blow my back out lifting a patient and I can't provide care, then now what good am I? So it's very hand in hand. It's an important to be safe for the patient and safe for the provider. Send that to them. Send this if your department's in the middle of these kind of discussions. Send them this podcast. I think we covered a lot of stuff that really talked about how important this is and what it does to us as providers and to patients and them feeling safe, because that's another thing too we didn't even get into. There's a patient aspect of this that they want to make sure that the people come in providing care for them, that they're being provided safe and proper handling, so. But anything else before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for using your platform to inspire other entrepreneurs. It can be an overwhelming thing to start and a journey to start on. So giving them information, I really want to thank you for that, as well as for the EMS side and for resiliency and the mental resiliency and mental health. Pain does play a role in that. Or if you are getting injured and you're away from your work family and you're not actually, that's where sometimes our mind has too much time to sit there and dwell on things because we're not working. So I do believe they play hand in hand. So I just want to thank you for using your platform the way you are, using your voice, and for the way you're giving back to the industry. Keep it going.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So, okay, guys, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you next time. And thank you so much for tuning in. and everybody have a wonderful and safe rest of their day and week and months to come. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Ignition Path, fueling the entrepreneurial fire.